a nonprofit organization run by volunteers, and every week we're here on Wednesday morning to introduce 2 new startups in the Dallas community. And our whole goal here at 1 Million Cups is to make sure that startups are making good connections within the community and really building things together as a startup community here in Dallas. And if it's your first time here at Capital Factory Deck, I'll just talk a little bit about both of these great organizations and how they can support you if you're an entrepreneur. So, Capital Factory is all about being part of a community. We meet the best entrepreneurs in Texas and introduce them to their first investors, mentors, and customers. Capital Factory and the Deck serve tech startups at all stages, from first-time entrepreneurs to later-stage tech companies. So that's what it's all about here at Capital Factory. And so the Deck, the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, is a nonprofit created to support entrepreneurship and growth of the economy here in Dallas. And so both of these organizations have partnered to bring you this space and to bring you these programs. So we hope you enjoy that. And yeah, a little bit about 1 Million Cups and who are we. So our history kind of starts in 2012. So we're relatively new, but we've grown very fast, and we have chapters in over 180 cities across the U.S. It's a great organization to get involved with if you're looking for a way to volunteer, get more connected in the business community, get plugged in with Capital Factory and the Deck. It's great, and we have an amazing team. You'll see them helping out behind the scenes. And we have a great app. So if you want to download our free 1 Million Cups app and check in, it actually is really great because it tells you who our presenters are each week, and it also gives you an option to leave feedback and connect with other attendees. So it's actually pretty awesome. And so today's presenters, well, before I mention them too, I do want to shout out Teach for America. They're our sponsor this whole month of July, and we'll hear from one of their representatives about halfway through the program this morning. So yeah, thank you to Teach for America for providing us with the coffee. And today's presenters, we're first going to have Dr. Raquel Levitch-Fisher. Dr. Levesque, okay. And so we will first welcome her up on stage. There'll be a 6-minute presentation followed by Q&A, and then the second presenter will come up. So that's kind of our format. So with that, if everyone could please stand up, give a round of applause, and we'll welcome Dr. Levitch to the stage.
Thank you for having me here today. This is actually my first time at this particular location, and I love it. I'm a big techie kind of person, but at home I hardly have any technology, hardly ever turn it on, hardly ever use it, because this is what I do for a living. My PhD is in human performance and technology. And basically what I measure is I set in place a prediction of what you're going to do by analyzing what you do on your computer. And so because of that, we started the organization Charles, Edda, and Charles Bouley. And because, well, let me tell you a little bit more about what I did. So my certifications lean into Six Sigma. They go more into project management. I have some that focus more on chasing bad guys, hackers, people that place in ransomware. I find out why they're looking at your computer, your network, and then I analyze what you can and can't do in order to proceed forward. I help you put together a reconnaissance plan so that it doesn't happen again. So Charles Edda and Charles Bouley, those are my grandparents. My grandparents gave me the money to start the organization. You know, when the banks don't finance you, you go to your grandparents, right? And they gave me the $35,000 to start the organization. And from that time, we work with people who have organizations, corporations that have less than 200 computers. They have the budget, and they have the ability to buy the tools that are necessary to employ us to make sure there's no threat detection in their network. And so what we're looking for is an insider threat and an outsider threat. And what I'll try to tell people is to imagine that you have a home security system. Every time you use that home security system, is the threat on the inside or on the outside? And some of you are going to say, well, it depends on if my marriage is good. Okay. No, it really depends on what you have allowed in and what you're trying to keep out. You have three main things that you should be right now trying to protect at all times. And whatever those three things are those three things connected to your technology in any way? And so that's what we help you analyze at Charles Edda and Charles Bouley. And so now what we're doing is, because there seems to be a threat, however you choose to view the news or the media, whatever your political position is, we don't care. We just want to help you in a smaller capacity control that threat, analyze the three most important things that are important to you, which is your target, and make sure that anyone misses that target. I had a friend, and she's working on her ceiling. So now she's doing the popcorn. You know the little popcorn beads on the ceiling? So she's got this gun, and she's shooting to the ceiling, all this popcorn stuff, and all of a sudden this white layer of dust starts floating down, and it makes a mess in her whole living room. She comes in the next morning, and there's like a 2-inch layer of popcorn dust that has fallen off the ceiling and is now on the floor. And she said, Raquel, I could see where the cat walked in, and the cat moved over here, and the cat moved over there, because she could see the footprint. My question is, what if she found a 12-inch shoe? Now what? What if she found a pattern that someone, while she was sleeping, had come in, didn't touch her, just moved around a little bit, and then made an exit? Would you know if someone came in and they left a footprint? And so we teach you how to analyze if someone has been in, how they've been in, how they got in, and what they wanted when they got there. And then we help you measure how long it's going to take you to recover. And statistics show that in the United States, you should have at least 6 months worth of savings. 6 months worth of savings. Now, I spent a lot of money. I'm not saving 6 months worth of savings. And so, Charles Edda and Charles Bouley, if you don't have that 6 months worth of savings, what are you going to do? What's your plan? Mom and dad are going to give it to you. Your friends aren't going to give it to you because you probably already leveraged that. When you get into the 3rd month, what's your plan? The 4th month, the 5th month, the 6th month. And so that's your reconnaissance plan if someone was to hack into your network. Over 33 billion people was affected by the latest ransomware and malware attack that was out there. And so when that ransomware and that malware attack hit, did people have a reconnaissance plan? How many numbers do you need in order to swipe your card? What's your reconnaissance plan if you have no gas, you have no food, you have no way to commerce? What happens if you can't use your Social Security number anymore? What's that reconnaissance plan? And so Charles Edda and Charles Bouley is going from big corporations and working with 500 Fortune companies and bringing it down and teaching citizens day by day by day, what's your reconnaissance plan if you have a hacking attack? My name is Dr. Raquel Levesque. There are only 3 of us on LinkedIn. I'm the pretty one. So message me. Thank you very much.
All right, and now we will go to the Q&A. Let's see, who's running our Q&A mic today? I am. Okay. So our first question that we always ask is, what can the community do for you?
Okay. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that we work with organizations that have less than 200 computers. We just signed a major contract to work with Fortune 500 companies, which we're excited about. However, that's not going to fix the problem with what's going on in our country today. Our goal is to work with more individuals and more citizens and small businesses on what they need. But there are 2 problems, the budget and the tools. Cybersecurity is very expensive. I'm expensive. These shoes are expensive. It's going to cost you. So what I'm saying is, how do we now put together a package so that you can afford it? so that you understand how to know if someone is in your backyard, in your home, and has penetrated. So what we're trying to do is go global. And if we open it up to a Charles Edda and Charles Bouley to a global setting, we can bring that cost down, that cost variance, and at a fixed rate for our small business owners and individual people. So the question is, how do we target the market, because cybersecurity is global, and how do we take our small firm global?
Love it. And yeah, if it's your first time here, please do put your hand up if you have a question, and I'll come around with the mic. And if you don't mind, please say your name before you ask your question. I'll come to the first hand over here.
Hi, Anish here. What is your typical solution? Is it a hardware, software, just human capital solution? Is it a mix, or do you not have a typical type of solution? What are you doing?
We go through, so what we do is security architecture. There are some typical go-tos. Here's the 5 or top things that we look at, and 95% of the time, that's the target. We find what the problem is. However, in working with small businesses and individual people, that has changed. The typical problem and the typical tools that we use to manage are a lot different, because we find that there's no insider threat, there's a user threat. You left your you left your platform open, you didn't know it. Right now, some of you are running your phones that have the Wi-Fi on it, and you just checked your bank account when you were out there, and it's still open, that app is not closed. So what we find is that education is lacking, and that's the majority of the problem.
Hi, I'm Sophia. You've done a great job explaining the vision. I'm a student at SMU, and in a law class, we actually had a cybersecurity attorney come in and just explain, for those who haven't if you haven't learned about cybersecurity, it's like exponentially growing the amount of attacks.
Yes.
So if I were to have personally had a hacking incident, what does the process look like for finding a solution, and how long does that look like? Is the lifespan of finding the resolution?
So hacking, what we find is that hacking is changing. People want access to your systems without you knowing it. For example, if I were to walk over, shake your hand, ask you how you're doing, and made some kind of interaction with your physical body, what I'm doing is looking for your credit card. And my idea is to swipe your credit card, then put it back in your bag. I have a longer time to process or do whatever I want to do. So since hacking has changed and moving more into a new area, what we're finding is that, how do I say it so people understand what I'm saying? What we're finding is that hacking now wants access to your credentials without using your credentials. I hope that answered the question. I hope so. Maybe a little fuzzy. We'll have to talk after this.
Morning, my name is Rocky. I had a question about, so you're saying you're looking at 200 below in terms of companies. What's the business model of how you sell to these companies with variable sizes? Some are only 5 people, some are up to 200. The margins are so thin on some of these startup companies to really be able to spend on fancy cybersecurity. Usually everyone tries to in-house it themselves. So what's the strategy you use for these different sizes? Because I know a 5-person company, 200-person company is going to be very different, charge.
That's true.
And what are your options that do you lease it out a month for your service, or what do you do?
Okay, so when you look for a company like mine, the only reason you do that is because you've probably been hacked, or something's wrong and you know something's wrong, you just don't know what. So as soon as you click or Google us, we have your IP address and we know that you're looking. So we're going to make contact with you. So when we make contact, I then analyze what you need, how you need it, and how to implement it. I have a hard time, and my team has a hard time working with smaller organizations because of the resources. It's a lot. I can't take that it's not. And so we're looking to mitigate that, and we haven't found a way to do it. The bigger organizations have the money to say, here, just fix it. Just fix it. When I walk into an office, they literally jump up, scoot their chair over to me and go like this, hoping that I just fix it. And so when I can bring a team in, we'll fix it. But when we get into smaller organizations, we have found that the resources available and the time that we need can be a potential problem, but we stay with those organizations and help them with it. It is not a one-fix-all. It's about education, and we hope to leave them with that. And I've made myself available as a small business owner so that they can call me.
So I'm Donnie. Well done.
Hi.
How are you? You said you want to go on a global scale. What is your speaker strategy to get on the international speaking circuit to really tap that market?
Okay, so we have a couple. I just signed a contract with an organization that's done a lot of contract work with the CIA, and they're going to be doing some business in the UK. That's not a lot of business for us. We will be franchising with them, so we don't get to say Charles Edda and Charles Bouley. We get to carry their cards. The second thing is we've been asked or recommended to do a couple of TED Talks, TEDx, but TEDx is a little different. We want to go global. That's Big TED. And so Big TED closes soon, and we're hoping to submit that application before it closes. Yeah.
Raquel?
Yes.
Steve Ryan, we met.
We did.
As a CPA, usually zero in, what's the price point? What are you talking about here? You didn't mention that. I noticed that. Which is good sales technique, by the way.
I didn't mention the cost because it's a cost that is not in everybody's budget. When we work with 200 or less computers, let me say right now that we're looking to secure $35,000 as a retainer. And that retainer is for me to come onto your property to analyze the situation. And then I give you a rate. With small business owners and individual people, I literally do free work and barter and trade and talk with people. Why? Because I just don't want you to get hacked. You may never, I had a lady that has a death certificate that right now she can't get a social security card, she can't get a driver's license, she can't get anything because the hackers actually closed her out. She's dead and they're using her stuff somewhere else. So I want everyone to have the resources that they need, so I try to not talk about how much it costs individually because I'll work with you or I'll send someone to work with you. But for the big companies, yeah, you need to pay us. Yes, hi.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Carroll. And have you ever thought about, let me say this, I own a security company. And one of the first things people say to me is, what about cybersecurity? So on that note, have you ever thought about blending with a security company? And you guys can work together and get that out, and there would be more resources, more feet on the ground?
We haven't thought about it on that spectrum because most people that I deal with have to have at least second level clearance with the DOJ. And sometimes when we do work and collaborate, the negotiations fall apart when their people can't get clearance. But I'd love to continue the conversation with you because it might be worth pursuing.
All right, we've got time for about 2 or 3 more. Here's one in the back row.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi.
I would like to know, do you come up with a risk response strategy or threat detection or incident response as part of your strategy to the corporates?
It depends on what they're needing from me. We have had organizations hire us and say, hey, just create our security architecture. That way I can pull developers and we will not put them on the platform and not get things like dark trades or these other big organizations, but we will actually create it for them. Or we have platforms that we will say, hey, do this, or that. A lot of platforms want us to kind of sponsor them and things like that. We kind of think that's not fair because I'm trying to force them to fit into one mapping scheme and that doesn't exist. But we do have companies and organizations that we will refer them to as a platform based for their security if they need that from us.
Hi, my name is Lynn Ryan, and I don't pretend to know a lot of what you're talking about, although I loved your presentation, thought it was really good. So based on my limited knowledge, I was just wondering if you ever thought about maybe attacking it from the subscription point of view of like smaller companies could maybe pay a fee and then in exchange they would have access to maybe little mini lessons that you or some of your team could put out for them, and then if they ended up having a specific question, it would be on a fee-for-service type thing.
I haven't thought about that. I'd like to talk to you about it a little bit more after this. What we have done, however, is we've done a lot of webinars and seminars in the community. A lot of people come out, but what we find is that nobody's a worker bee. Everybody's situation is so individual that people need individual maps. I can't tell you enough. I really hope and pray, if I leave you with one bit of advice, please do not do business and personal on the same computer. And if I can get you off the same network, awesome, but the same computer, I can't even implore you enough to let you know how your reconnaissance and getting it back together is going to be affected. So for $149 to buy an additional notepad or laptop, and then maybe another $35 subscription with AT&T to get a little separate network put in your home, will cost you millions. Now, how many of you have millions? So 20 years of your life just got wiped away.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. Does anybody else got one? Okay, one here at the back.
Yeah. What's going on?
What's going on?
Not much. Enjoying the hot weather, that's for sure. So, Joshua Kidd. Quick question for you. So, are you guys playing in the PCI space at all?
No.
No. Okay.
We have been approached on it.
Yeah.
A lot of people here probably don't know what you're talking about. If you want to explain it a little bit, and then I can talk further.
Yeah, right on. So PCI is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. So it's the standard that Visa, MasterCard, American Express put out there in the market for all small businesses and large businesses to comply with in terms of protecting consumer data when they use their credit card or their debit card. And so the reason I wanted to engage this question is that we already have a base built of small and mid-sized businesses here in DFW. We're wanting to roll out PCI as a service, and I wanted to find out if that was something that you guys would be looking into in the future.
So let's have a conversation after this. Let me tell you about small businesses and using some kind of merchant device to swipe those cards and things like that. And some of the answers people think is cybersecurity insurance, that they want to kind of get into place, and that way if something were to happen, then you're protected. You're not. Just like if I buy some kind of insurance and I accidentally commit suicide, the insurance is dead. So there's so many ways that cybersecurity insurance won't work for you. I look forward to the conversation, but I think my time is over. So anyone that wants to approach me, I'm very, very open. Have your notepad and be ready to write.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give her another round. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about our sponsors for 1 Million Cups and the organizations that make this event possible. We just want to give them a thank you. So we have Michael K. Bruner, who's right there with us in the back. He runs all of our video production and photography, so thank you to him. Thank you again to Capital Factory Deck for being our venue. I did see Alice here earlier. She was here this morning. She's the new CEO of the Deck, so if you get a chance to meet her, please do. She's amazing. And thank you to our snack and drink sponsors, High Brew Coffee and Curtu. And then now I'm going to actually bring our representative from Teach for America. She's going to come up and talk a little bit about their organization and ways that you can get involved. Well, let's give her a round.
Hi there. Good morning. My name is Kaylee Finn, and I work at Teach for America. Basically, what we believe is that potential is equally distributed among all kids in our country, but opportunity is not. And so what we do is we go on to our nation's top campuses, college campuses, and we recruit their top talent, their top leaders. And we say, hey, we know you were planning to go into business or into law or maybe to med school after you graduate, but what if for 2 years you became a teacher in our nation's most under-resourced schools? And I was one of those people who said, yeah, that sounds cool. I actually don't know how to be a teacher. And they said, don't worry, we'll train you. And so I said, okay. And so I chose Dallas as one of about 50 cities that I could go to. I came here and I became a teacher for 2 years. And so the goal is that at the end of that 2 years, one of two things will happen. Either people will have fallen in love teaching and education, and they will stay in education to continue to work on our nation's most pressing issue. Or they will have been changed by this experience and they will want to go back into business or law or medicine, but they will never forget the impact and the time that they spent in the classroom. And so we believe we need people doing both, working from in and outside the system to create change. So I was a teacher for a few more years after my 2 years, and now I work on staff supporting the folks who are still in education. We have about 1,300 folks in Dallas who are alumni of our program, 60,000 alumni nationally, and yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you again so much to Teach for America. They've got a huge presence here in Dallas, and we love having them as our sponsor. So with that, I will introduce and bring on our next 1 Million Cups presenter, Matthew from SlideCase. So let's please give him a standing round of applause, bring him on stage. There we go. All right, take it away.
It's working. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, let's start. Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Bartos. I have just moved in here to Dallas from Central Europe, from Poland. Anyone know the place? From where? From Poland. You know the place? Central Europe? No, you have to visit. Anyway, I'm here because I want to ask you one simple question, and I want to share my story, my last 2 years of my life. And it all begins with one simple question, which is, how much do you remember from the previous presentations? So I have been attending a lot of conferences, meetups, trainings, and I always get the feeling that I'm not getting all the knowledge, that the knowledge is being displayed, but it just, keeping slipping through my fingers, and I don't grab it and I don't use it fully. So I try to make pictures. Stopped working, okay. I tried to make pictures of slides, but it's blurry, it's not working. I tried to make some pen and pencil notes. I can see some of you are doing it right now. And it wasn't working very well, so I started to think, how can it be better? How can I make it better? How it can be more efficient? How actually events can be more productive? So our mission in SlideCase is to help humanity achieve more, to help share the knowledge and to perceive knowledge as the greatest value. So we started to think how to make it better. And this is not our mission only. The CEO of LinkedIn, Jeff, told presentations as the main source of the knowledge among the professionals. And he said that when he acquired one of our competitors, by the way. And I will return to that later. But yeah, we quitted our jobs, we started to work full-time on the SlideCase MVP in December 2016. After 3 months, we get our first version, we get first clients, we get first users. So SlideCase enables you to make notes during a presentation. Not a big deal, right? But imagine you getting the notes along with slides in the real time. When the speaker is presenting some slide, it instantly gets transferred to a mobile phone, and you can make, just a quick note, just a comment. You don't have to rewrite the content of the slide. Just a quick note which stays on your phone with the materials forever. So we started to do that, and the results was great. We get 75% of installs among the participants, compared to the 10% when it comes to, classical event applications. So we get 75%, and we get a great result. So here comes the part when the Google offers us some money, and we just quit, right? No, it's just a long journey. So we started with developing more features. We started to engage the audience more. You can ask questions for the application. You can take part in polls. The speakers get insights on their slides, specifically which slide is the best one from a presentation. We started to develop this kind of tools back in 2017, but still it wasn't very enough for us. We started to work on the distribution channels. We started with the big conferences because it was quite easy. They were using, these classical event applications, so all we had to do was to perceive them and to switch to our application, which has a better results. Still, it wasn't enough. We started to partner with 80 companies because they have a lot of experience and a lot of partners across the country. Still, it wasn't enough. We wanted SlideCase to be the basic tool for every presentation around the world. So we got a guy who has 10 years experience in the hotel market, and we started to partner with hotels make a deals with them. So in every conference room, you have a SlideCase installed and ready for your application, for your presentation. So we did that, but still, it wasn't enough. We came back to the drawing board because we wanted SlideCase to be available for everyone. What's the point of having a cure if only the richest one can afford it, right? What's the point of Spotify if it's not for everyone? So we came to the conclusion that the only way to make SlideCase efficient is to make it available for everyone. It has to be a freemium product, it has to be a SaaS product. So if you have a free event like this, you can use SlideCase for free without any charge, because we want to encourage you to share knowledge. And this way, we get some marketing and we get some traction. With that, we want to penetrate the market who is 30 billion revenue just in the last year in the United States. We are focusing on 4 groups. We are focusing on conferences, trainings, meetups, and corporate events. So a lot of users, a lot of different kind of users, but still we are trying to do that, and we are not the only one on the market, obviously. We have a common competition which are quite different from us. All of them requires you to pre-upload the presentation in PDF or PowerPoint file. So you have to upload it, and then you can just somehow share it with the participants. We are comparing with the LinkedIn SlideShare because we also have a website where you can build the brand of your company. If you want to attract professionals, you can just show your knowledge, show that you are the specialist in knowledge in your company. So we are comparing to them because they are sharing knowledge as well as compared to other listeners presenting. So I'm not the only one in the company, and I'm just gonna say in a second just a few words about the funding. They got a pretty big funding in the beginning, and LinkedIn, as you may know, has been sold for $1,200 million to the LinkedIn and recently to the Microsoft. Still, they're getting a little bit funding in the beginning, and I'm the only one in the team. I'm actually a CTO, a programmer, as you can see. But I'm with Shimon, who is the great manager. I'm with Nikolai, who is a great marketing with 8 years of experience. And Tomasz is the guy who has experience in hotels, so we can create some more deals with them. So, that's it. Thank you very much, and I'm awaiting your feedback, your questions.
All right. Here.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for presenting. Question. Sure.
How exactly, right? What is the progress? So for events like this, it works like very simple way. You go to the website, you just click start capturing, you switch to the presentation, and you keep speaking. You keep presenting, and our algorithms capture the whole screen. So if you're doing a live session, live coding, we can capture that as well. For the premium events, like for the very big conferences, we have a special hardware, because if you're gonna get a lot of users, like let's say a few thousand of them, it's better to have like a hardware installed and ready for that.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I could see, last year I presented in Portugal, and one of my presenters is back in the U.S. And we kept getting asked for, can we get copies? Because the presenter in the U.S., it was hard to see or get the clarity on the PowerPoint. So I could see how that works. This could really be a great fit for us back then, and as well as other conferences we do, because we don't have to have people in various places, and that PowerPoint slide would work and give them information earlier to the whole thing while we're listening.
Exactly. We had like one event where there was too many people on the stage, and they just told us, can we present the slides in a separate room? So we just go to this room, pick up the presentation, and we just open the application and enlarge it on the screen so people can go to another event and still hear the sound and see the presentation as well. But yeah, this is the case we are from. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so the mic works now. What can we as a community do for you?
Yeah, so the first thing is, of course, use SlideCase. It's gonna be free very soon, like for everyone. We're getting out of the beta right now. So if you want to use it for your public events, it's free of charge. If you are doing this as a professional speaking of, or you want to have a private event, not publicly share it, you have to pay a very small fee for that, but it's all. Spread the word if you like it. If you love it, of course, it's going to help us with marketing. And we're still expanding to the United States, so we are still lacking experience and some local businessmen, so it can help us. Thank you.
Hey, brother. I got the mic, so I'm going. Watch this.
Yeah.
Donnie, by the way, great. I love this, by the way. I do a lot of speaking all around the world, so I really appreciate this. My question is, though, there's a lot of times when you go to a conference and you take a literal crap ton of notes. Are you capturing any of the audio, or am I expected to type those little bitty notes as fast as I possibly can on my phone to capture all the details? Because, dude, I'm not 13. I don't have the fastest text in the world.
So yeah, exactly. We have this plan to add the audio because it's not very hard, technically speaking, but we don't have it yet. Yes, we're gonna introduce it with another resources. The main issue we have right now is that we are still looking for funding. We spent $100,000 US, which for Polish people is 300, let's say. So we are still looking for investments, and with that we can just announce new features quicker because we can expand the team and so on. Right now it's only texting notes. If we came back to the roadmap for this year, and Spotter, we are expecting to release a web version, so you can just use your laptop to type the notes. All right? Thank you.
So my question is,
Yeah.
so I plan events where we have a lot of speakers, and I'm wondering if the people who are doing the presentation can see the type of notes that folks are taking during their presentations, so that they can learn what are the questions they're writing down, what are the things that they're really taking away, or the quotes that are really landing that they're writing. I imagine that's really valuable to those people.
Exactly. So, do you know what is a GDPR in Europe? Yeah. So, we are doing kind of that. We are providing a very detailed insights. I can show you just after the event. When you as a presenter, because I was speaking at a lot of events and I was always lacking the insights, because you cannot measure which slide is the best. What we are getting you as a speaker is a detailed report. Which slides has a most favorite notes, favorite mark, because you can mark a slide as a favorite. And also we are analyzing the notes of the participants to create a tag cloud with the most frequent words appearing. So we had a lot of funny stories, a lot of funny notes, this isn't true, this is not correct. And also if you make it publicly, if you publish it on our website, people can get to discuss. And it's great for scientific presentations, because when you present something new, people can get in the argument below your slide and say you're correct, you're not correct. Yeah, so we can provide it, and I can show you just after the event. Okay? Thank you.
Morning. I had a question about the very first thing you said in your presentation. I wanted to really get an idea of how much retention is happening from use case of this app. I know students and universities, basically everything is on a PowerPoint, every presentation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a case study or a pilot you could run to say, using this has improved test scores or something in a quantifiable way for you to say, this app actually is doing what it's meant to do. Have you done some pilot kind of programs, not to just get use cases or more users, but to say that the original principle of our business model is that people are retaining the knowledge in these presentations?
All right. So let me tell you one more thing. The main advantage of our application compared to the other one is that you have to install just one application and you can help all the events. So we are, in terms of retention of users, you mean how often users come?
How much of this use of this app is actually retaining the knowledge and not slipping through the fingers, as you were saying? How much of the users are actually gaining the knowledge? Are you able to test in a pilot version or some metrics?
Yeah, by retaining, you mean how often they come back and see their notes or something like that?
From what it is that the presenters, that they learned what they were supposed to or get?
Yeah, I get it. I don't have this feedback right now. I can return to this after the presentation. But what I can tell you is that people are uninstalling our application at the rate of 10%, 12%. So most people just keep it on their phone and they are ready for another event. When they come to the event and see our logo, they just say, yeah, we can learn from that. In terms of students, we don't have a really good experience with universities. Because it's Poland, it's let's say, hard. Okay, there is a lot of. In Poland, we have a government universities. So getting your product there is pretty hard because it has to be approved by the government itself. So to get to the universities, we didn't start in this area because it's harder to start your business there, right? So in terms of just learning, I can show you the statistics, how many people come back and learn from the notes. Like how many are reviewing the notes, how many are there using their knowledge. Okay? I'm not sure if this is the answer to your question, but let's talk after the event, okay?
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
So my question is, I walk around all day when I go to these conferences with a pad. My keyboard disappears. It's an Invisa keyboard. I'm not going to carry a laptop. It's never going to happen. But I need something to go in my purse, my bag, and if I want to take a note, I use my pen. So on your product, is there a white space for me to actually use my pen? Or is this a feature where I actually have to type? And when I'm looking at that person's slide, is there like a white space, or am I just finding somewhere to put something on the slide?
Like digitally, right?
Yes.
So you can have your phone back in your purse. You don't have to pick it up during the event. When you come home, you can just open the app. All the materials are inside it already, and you can make notes after the event.
So am I not able to use my pen just yet?
Well, it's like the application on the phone. We can allow you to print the materials, of course, but we want to play digital, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
As a speaker, can
Yeah.
I push out data? So if I want to give away a book, I want to give away MP3s, audios, clips, can I push out to the audience and say, hey guys, part of this presentation, if you'll open your application right now, you'll now see you have a downloadable version of my ebook or whatever else. Are you guys there yet?
Absolutely. We give you the opportunity to allow to connect to the participants, to the audience.
Talk afterwards.
Yeah, of course. Sure.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Do you have your slide presentation on your current app right now? And is there an event code?
I wanted to do that. I wanted you to just pick up your phones and attend the presentation with SlideCase, but unfortunately, I'm not allowed to do it here.
No.
So I just have, a PDF file uploaded to this computer, so I cannot use SlideCase here. I want it, but I could do it like privately for you.
Manuel, work for a software company, do a lot of demos. Does it screen capture software?
Exactly. I'm a programmer as well, so I love just when I make some live coding. When I'm just going to code something, I can just code right away, and we just transfer it to the mobile phones.
Okay, have you approached software companies?
Yes, we are working with them. We have been on Java conference recently. Java. Hello.
Hi, I'm Seth Luxembourg. I'm with Cosmos Energy. So my question is about monetization. So obviously, it seems like one path is towards big exit to Google, or it's not big exit to someone else. But what are the other pros and cons of different monetization options?
What are the other
pros and cons of different monetization options in the sort to medium term?
Yeah, sure. Because I have told very shortly about it, but we have a few approaches to that. The first one is just a freemium model. So the pros is that we have a very easy way to get money. Not very much money, just a few dollars every month for a premium features, but still getting a SaaS product, so it's easier. But there is not where the money is exactly. The money is in the enterprise events, and if you look at the market, there is 70% of corporate events. Most of them are closed. So when approaching to the B2B business, it's better to go to the big players and just sign a deal with them to use it every month. We have a client that is using our software every month. They are just a training company. They go around the companies and make some software, make trainings for the software developers. So they just use our software and pay us monthly. So it's better for us. And I spoke also about the hardware. We have also a hardware which can be sold to the AV companies. They are, AV companies have a lot of hardware. They connect all the stuff on the big conferences, so they can just plug in our device and don't worry about it, and we can sell this device on rent. So it's better for us because we can get a lot of money from that, but the consequence is that you have to build and sell and establish a production of that. I'm not sure if this is the whole answer, but it's a very long topic. I can come back to this after the event. Thank you.
All right, we got time for 2 more questions.
Hey, it's me again. I had just kind of a social question. I've done some talks for about a decade, and I would say 10 years ago, I had a lot more engagement with my audience. Tech has certainly added a distractive feature. I did a talk a month ago. I looked out in the audience. I would say 70% of the audience is looking at their phone or their tablet. This obviously is an IT tech product. I imagine that, do you feel anything or have anything to say just kind of on the lack of engagement between the audience and a speaker at a conference or in a classroom or wherever this app is being used? Is there something being missed between the person presenting and the audience at hand? Because this could very easily be questioned by some to say, I'm just going to send you the slides, review them on your own, and it just becomes a self-learning thing, rather than taking the time to go to a conference, maybe in a remote city, and actually seeing a great presenter tell you what it is that they're trying to show you.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of, is it okay? In terms of getting the audience engaged, I have been presenting myself, and I see this behavior a lot. So we try to tell people, and with our applications you can actually engage them, because you can send them a push notification. Whatever they are doing, they're just getting a push notification. Hey, your speaker wants you to rate his current slide, or he wants you to answer the question for you. So actually, I believe that we are giving you a tool to get people out of their phones just by getting a notification. They can back to your presentation and they can see that you are doing something. And in terms of uploading or giving the presentation later, we get the feeling from the feedback from the people that if you get the live previewed slides, you're more interested in what's presenting. And one feature we get, we were on a medical conference for very elderly people, and I was very worried because before we presented before the very young people who is using their phone constantly, right? So we had the elder people there, but still they were on the phones. They were still using their phones because they can't enlarge the slide. If the people is sitting in the end of this room, they can just open the application and enlarge the slide and see the small details. And the medical slides are very, very tiny, so it can help you. And in terms of engagement, I really, really do believe that we are helping people with that. All right?
All right, anyone got a question? Last one? All right, for you personally, what have you learned through this whole process?
During these 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, I believe that I get this personal feeling. We get this idea, and in the beginning, it's just an idea. You get this idea in your mind, you can see it because you are still thinking about it. We created this first MVP, and we were in the very big conference, 1,000 people. It was in the cinema, actually. So the presenter was on the stage. It was a big screen, big cinema screen behind him. And we were sitting on the top and just talking with people, looking how the application is used. And the first time, I just came from the top of the stairs, downstairs, and looked around me, and I saw everyone has their phone with the same blue color inside it. It feels great. It just, I will get the feedback from the users that they are using it, but they can lie. They can say, yes, of course I have been using it. But actually, seeing people that have been using this really feels to make a difference, So I think that this feeling is just fueling us and getting the feedback that you are helping people, and it's really, really working. It's something that's fulfilling me and keeps me going.
Awesome. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much. Let's give them another round. Yeah, I thought it was such a treat with both the presenters today and also with Matthew being visiting us here in Dallas, all the way from Poland. So, welcome to Dallas. Hope you've enjoyed your time here. I'll say a last couple words about the event, how to get involved, and stay tuned for next week. So please do follow us on all the different social media accounts. I feel like this is so ironic. We're having a SlideCase talk about that, and we're telling you guys, like, get on the app during the presentation. But anyway, you can get on the 1 Million Cups app and submit your feedback there for both the presenters. Our team, you'll see us all around. We'll be hanging out for the next 15-20 minutes. If you have any questions about joining our team or sponsoring 1 Million Cups, please feel free to come up and talk to us. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful offer. So, even more incentive if you go into the app and provide feedback for our presenter. She's offered a free ebook on cybersecurity to anyone who does that. So, thank you. And let's see, what else can I say to wrap up? Thank you again to Teach for America for being our sponsor this month. We really love partnering with you guys. Thank you to our team of volunteers who are making this event run flawlessly. And thank you again to our partners. So again, keep these organizations in mind. If you're an entrepreneur, Capital Factory, The Deck have resources for you. And if you see Kinga, she's waving over there, she can give you a whole tour of this amazing facility after the event is over. So thank you, Kinga. And with that, that's a wrap. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.